From advertising, branding, to design and experiences, how are we going to use AI to create the future that we want? Join us for breakfast.
Cyril is a serial entrepreneur whose latest company is helping creative agencies capitalize on AI and particularly agentic technology to get ahead and to remove the portions of the business that are less creative and focus on those areas that are more human and more creative.
Okay, salut Cyril. Hello.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Happy 4th of July.
Yeah, happy 4th of July. We're some of the few who are working. We're going to go back to the barbecues after this.
Very soon.
But thank you for making some time. So I've really been looking forward to having you on the podcast because I think a lot of people are getting used to the tools. Some people are changing their services to use new tools, AI tools. But you're actually building a company on AI tools. And you're trying to help small businesses, but also larger ones, and potentially individuals, adopt these tools and accelerate their plans. So before we talk about Mosaia and your business, I think everybody would love to know a little bit about your career path. If you could tell us a little bit about your background and how you started.
So it took a few seconds to notice I'm French. Started my career in a ad-buying company. Then very quickly moved to Airbnb in Europe, where I was focusing on growing the business in Europe. From Paris, and that after a few years, I ended up going to California. So I moved to LA in 2019. At the time, Airbnb had a goal to scale a big office in LA, so thousands of people, and so I was part of the journey to grow this office. And one of the things I did at Airbnb was I was in charge of the professional photography program.
Yeah.
So Airbnb has done 1 million photo shoots across the globe. So it was a very interesting operation with a lot of scale and involving working with people with a creative background, of course. We are dealing with photo, video as well. So working with creative engineering as well to make sure this process, we have the right tech to scale this process, and operational people to deal with thousands of photographers all over the world.
So tell me a little bit, so what did you study? Did you study business? I mean, it's funny because I was surprised to see in Silicon Beach, but Silicon Valley, there's a lot of French people at a certain level. So they seem to be either in maths or in innovation with AI. It seems to have attracted sort of a French touch. Why do you think there are so many French, like DeepMind, leadership, and why are French people here in this?
Maybe it's about passion as well. So indeed, my background was more around operation, strategy, but also like figuring out how to scale a process. Yeah. The process is broken. Like tech companies are very heavily weighted on building through very heavy process. So once it's in place, it's very difficult to move it. And so I think maybe the French are pretty good at breaking it and reinventing it. Yeah. And attracted when there's something that deals with creativity as well. So when I was given the opportunity to improve and fix the process of doing 100,000 videos across the globe, that's a super interesting problem to solve, and it involves also like building very high performing teams with people from different backgrounds. So that's also a very interesting challenge. How do you get the creative team to collaborate well with operation, engineers? Within these people, some don't really care about quality or creativity. Yeah. And so it was a very interesting process to get everyone aligned here.
So you mentioned, so obviously you spent many years at Airbnb and you helped capture a lot of content. Airbnb relies on the quality of the pictures, right? I remember when you're looking for a house, you're looking, what do the bedrooms look? And people clearly think a lot about how they decorate it. Yeah. So you played a key part in that. So tell me a little bit about the volume of content you captured, and was that role at Airbnb the moments that made you go click and realize that is something where AI could participate, or are they separate?
Yeah, so something that played a role for sure is at some point we were doing thousands of shoots every week, photo, video, so it's a pretty big operation.
Yeah.
And if at the time when I think about the creative roles within the team, so art producer, art director, producer, video editor, it's insane how much time, for instance, we would be spending on things that are not creative. If you think about a producer, most of the time was spent in spreadsheets, dealing with process, dealing with repetitive tasks, and nothing to do with the true, like their craft and the things that they're really passionate about.
Yeah.
And so that gave me a strong motivation when I was at Airbnb, but also now as well, to figure out ways to make the team more productive, more focused on what they do well. Something also, another very good example, that happened multiple times. For a while, we were trying to use AI to automate a marketplace. So if you think about a marketplace, you're trying to match supply and demand.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes very hard because there is a lot of friction. So if your marketplace is to match clients with a creative agency, you need to really understand what the client wants. And then you have like a large number of creative agencies, so it's actually difficult to figure out what is the right one, right? So how do you make sure this is the one that fits the needs of the client? And for a while as well, we used AI to make sure the system asks the right question to the client. So be very smart. People are very busy, so how can, with 5 or 10 questions, you can really extract the client needs.
Yeah.
And then figure out which company at the time we had a database of a few hundred companies, which company was the right one. And we noticed when there was not really a good fit, right? So the client needed something that was none of the company in the database could do it. We noticed times where the system would create an additional agent able to do research online to figure out through Google search, through all type of different research, if there is a better result than what we have internally, which as well was not expected. There was no reason it would happen. And so that's part of the thing that we still learn every day, how to make sure we control the experience and anticipate everything that can happen when you're trying to solve a problem with AI.
So I would say
we're
happens
finding
almost
with AI
every
is
day
there's still,
when
even
you
though
try
it's
to give very
computers, it's
specific
transistors,
instruction
it's ones
to
and
AI,
zeros,
to a model,
there's a higher unpredictability.
and for some reason it doesn't
like
do
our
it.
confidence
And
level
very
with
good
outcome
reason. And it really
with
makes
some of the
sense.
tools that we're playing with
One of
is
them
somewhere
is
just
so many
around the
times on our
80%.
platform, for instance.
So it's
we see
significantly
people
less margin
creating
than
agents
even like
for a
creating
specific goal.
an atomic chain reaction.
And
So it's quite
then they ask
interesting.
question,
I'm curious,
and for some reason the agent starts
where do you sit on that?
So I think everybody cares about performance, right? So if you use AI to create a video, you want a video to be the way you want, so you have a bar for quality and you're trying to achieve something. And what's interesting is, depending on who you speak with, everybody is going to be focused on a small piece of the puzzle to drive performance. And usually the piece they are really familiar with. So most of the time in the creative industry, people might focus on the prompt because there's almost an art to it.
Yeah.
If you speak with engineers, they will focus a lot on the quality of the model.
Right.
And they're going to speak about benchmark around very technical criteria, latency, things that enable to compare different models, but actually might not be that useful for most of the use cases the way people use AI.
Yeah. So have you had moments where like you were genuinely surprised by the technology and it took you aback?
Yeah, the most interesting part is how fast model improve for some problems, and many other problems we're not there yet, right? So for people who try to have AI doing things for them, we still need to figure out memories. There still are a lot of gaps in the ability to leverage it in the day-to-day. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about Mosaia in particular? What its purpose is, and what it is in simple terms for people who are wanting to understand it.
Very simple. We're trying to build an AI assistant that can deliver work for you in the tool you use every day. So one of them is a spreadsheet. Many people run whole processes in spreadsheets. We want to make sure we bring AI in their workflow to get things done faster and go beyond what they've been able to do so far.
Okay. So give me some specific examples how it might come about today, and then also hints of what the roadmap is.
Yeah. So there are three things usually that works very well today so far that we've noticed with AI. First one is to personalize. Second one will be to match. Third one will be to automate. So personalize, match, automate. To give an example, everybody has some experience giving a lot of information to ChatGPT to write a very good email. Make sure it's really personalized for the person who's going to receive it, right? We enable to do this at a very large scale. So think about creative agency that run a business development process. They might have 1,000 people that they target. We have a very good system to understand who is likely to engage with them at a given moment. So maybe they're launching a new product. So using AI to notice what's happening with the company, what have they announced recently, understand if the person is speaking at a conference about a specific topic where the creative agency has some expertise, etc. So that will be gathering a lot of insight about the person they contact to make sure when they reach out is very relevant.
So right now the use cases are narrow because you're focusing on use cases that it can perform well. Is that the idea, or is it also a mixture? Are you trying to figure out what are those use cases that are in highest demand? How are you figuring out what AI should do today?
Yeah, I think like every startup, we're trying to move away from very fancy demo or something that is very impressive and promising, but doesn't deliver at the level a business needs, right? So we care a lot about if when we work with for instance, an agency that wants to use AI to improve the business development process, we really make sure that the accuracy of the signals we get about the prospect is very high, that when they personalize an email to reach out to the person, that is as close as it can as a tone of what the CEO would write in the email. So we're really focusing on the type of use case where you can get really good quality. Yeah.
So that, I think you're touching on something very interesting, which is AI becoming effectively a team member, right? Because there's one thing about having an AI that helping you derive insight from data in an Excel sheet. It's another thing to have an AI effectively speak via email on behalf of an employee. Do you feel there's a distinction there? And how do you look at this notion of AI as a team member?
So I changed my mind a lot on this topic. I'm pushing back very hard on anything that speak about AI as a team member, human, supervisor, like things that make it sound like it's the same as one person in your team. So you can see it as maybe an AI assistant, so something to help the team get better and help the team get more done. But what we've seen so far, we really need some control of multiple AI agents to be able to get something done at the level of quality we need. So we haven't seen yet some use case where an AI is fully autonomous and can contribute without a high level of control from a team.
Okay, but were you saying that Mosaia now has an agent that can write emails on my behalf to collect data? Is that the case or not?
Yeah,
yet?
so that's the type of things we're building, but it requires a lot of human involvement to monitor the quality of the email, right? So is it something that the CEO of the company would be sending usually, for instance?
Yeah.
So we don't see it as something autonomous that's going to run on autopilot. We really believe that to get the best result, you need some level of control from the person who needs it.
And that's because of today, or is that you're saying more, philosophically, or more from do you think that's the way it's going to be in the future, or is it just because now we're in a transition phase where there's still enough hallucinations and laziness in the AI?
I would say probably maybe it's about performance and competition, right? So you want to make sure what you're doing with AI is as high in quality as you can get.
Yeah.
Everybody's using the same technology as you. And so it's also about you competing with others that are trying to use AI in different ways. And so as long as there is this, as long as you're searching for performance and you need to compete, you're going to need to be in charge to get the best out of it.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's take a slight tangent. So we've been helping brands implement AI, and so we build front-end layers. We also build tools that have multiple LLMs bolted together, so we can improve the quality of the outcome. We get them to cross-check each other, things like that. We're building a product for a company a few months ago now. It's just being released, and the product uses computer vision to look at contracts and find irregularities. And when we were building it and testing it, we were using multiple LLMs. So there was Anthropic, there was OpenAI, there was a bunch of them together. And we found something surprising. We found that for the first 3-4 months of building it, the results were consistently high. And then there was a drop-off. And we couldn't quite explain it. And so because they're still prompting is in part of the way the system is built, we prompt it to bring the quality back up, and it did for a period of time, but then it dropped down again. And then one of our engineers found on Reddit a post that said, try bribing your agent. So literally put, I will give you $100 if you go back to this standard. That worked for a while, but then it dropped again. And so he built a line of code that increased the amount of the bribe
in the prompt,
every time the quality went down. And it worked for many weeks until it dropped again. And our engineer asked, why is the quality dropping? And the agent responded, you never gave me the first $100.
Cannot fool it.
So that is it's fascinating. We understand the way the technology was built, right? It was built to predict language. It was built as a translator first for most parts. How do you find surprising outcomes like this? And is that why you think humans need to, for the foreseeable future, be a part of it? Is this solvable?
It's solvable with the right system in place to monitor the performance drop, right? So I would probably assume that it's going to happen again. And so, but it's still very useful, right? So the agent, like if you used it for many weeks, many months, it really adds value to you. And so it becomes more around the big challenge is what is the right system to monitor the quality of the agent and get an alert every time something's dropping. And indeed, maybe sometimes you're going to have to switch to a different model or like build the agent in a different way or totally change what you've been doing, right? So, but yeah, it involves the way you can think about it. Indeed, is you might need to think about performance monitoring like you will do with a team of humans, right? So sometimes something doesn't go well in the team. There's one person who is less motivated. And so the role of, if you manage a team, your role is to understand the dynamic and keep improving it.
So in some ways, it is kind of like a team member.
It's like a team, but I would not, you manage it maybe like a team member, but might be a bit offensive for the rest of the team to put the AI at the same level as them.
Okay, but as a manager...
you have some similar issues,
Okay. So,
and something also is like, you never know what he's going to be good at. So that's the part that is the most surprising to us, is when we listen to someone explaining a process, it's relatively easy to break it down in 5 or 10 pieces and use a specific agent to solve each of the parts. The part that we struggle still is to understand, out of the 10 steps, for which one you're going to get very good results from the agent, and which one, like, don't even try, like, it's not there yet, right? And it's very difficult to predict still.
Is it... I mean, I'm glad there are companies like you that are trying to make sense of all this stuff. But do you feel that it's still a little bit Wild Westy? Like, is it a technology that is, if some of the people who listen to this podcast are considering implementing it, the risk is high for them to implement something that an error might be, more risky than the potential value add. How do you balance risk reward with AI?
I think something that keeps me up at night indeed. Like, so we work also with recruiting agency or like big companies that use AI for recruiting. And of course, one of the use cases is how can we use AI to screen candidates, right? So we have 1,000 candidates in the database. There is a new role opening. How do we match the role with the right person in the database? And for a human, it's very time-consuming to do it. There's a lot of bias in how you do it, right? So it depends on how the data is structured. You might just remember the last person you spoke with and not the one from 6 months ago.
Right.
So there's a lot of, this process is not perfect, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And when you use LLMs to do it, what works very well is to break down this process in 5 or 10 criteria. You say, okay, you need a candidate with a specific technical expertise, and then someone with client-facing expertise. So you use AI to say, okay, in the 1,000 names, who fits the different criteria?
Yeah.
And at the end, you're able to say, okay, like we found people, like a set of people who should be a good fit for the role. We know when you do this process with AI, you have very high quality, but it's not 100%, right? So it's going to miss some people, and we don't really know why. And when it starts to touch how you recruit people, that's a big problem, right? So of course it works, but like the ability to run this perfectly is going to be very important here.
Okay, that makes sense. So recapping a little bit, what we're saying is today massive untapped potential in the sense of like operational efficiency, scaling opportunities. The challenges are that there is still some variability of outcome. So you sort of need to treat it, although not an equal, but you need to treat it like you would an employee as a manager. You need to check for quality. So human in the mix is still critical because of the variability of outcome in some cases. There's also the point, what you guys do, right, which is to make these technologies accessible. Because they're difficult to use. Right? Everybody can use a chat window. It's a completely different thing to implement an agentic piece of technology that starts to make changes, on your system and to start to listen, provide insights. As we plot into the future, where do you think is like 10 years is too far, but like 5 years? If you had to make a guess, because I'm guessing as an entrepreneur, you have to make an educated guess about the things that will be solved, the things that won't be. What is your guess currently, and I know things will change, about what 5 years looks like in terms of implementation of this technology and how it's going to change organizations, also the workplace and how we work with them?
So one big bet we're making, so we have a very strong conviction here. It's all going to be about the tools you use with LLM. And so tools, we need to clarify a bit what we mean by tools. It's usually the type of things you augment an LLM with. So for instance, it can be a search tool, so something that enables to perform search online. That's relatively easy.
Wow.
A tool that enables you to have an agent posting on specific websites. So you want the agent to post on Twitter or maybe use it on Slack. A tool can be something to enable the agent to have voice or generate video, right? So this is what's going to really drive performance. And so we want to build a system where, as a human, you explain what you're trying to achieve, and the agent is able to understand which tool to use from a library of tools that we have available. So, for instance, you would say, "Hey, I want to increase to improve my brand, and I want to increase awareness of my brand." And the agent will say, "Oh, to do this, you probably need to post more on social media," and it will create the right tools to enable that, right? So that's the type of thing we're trying to do. So you explain what is your goal, and the agent figure out itself what it needs to get things done.
So So using a different analogy, I'm guessing you've ridden in a Waymo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again,
I actually came with Waymo here.
Did
so
you?
Today, yeah.
So about 10 years ago, I was working with Ford on an autonomous program, and we were doing experience. Assuming the technology worked, what would be the human experience? And we had predicted that there would be a confidence level and adoption rate. You know, the first time you watch a steering wheel spin on its own, how long would it take? How many minutes of the ride would it take for people to pull out their phones and do something else?
5, 10, or
Well, we thought probably at the time we thought it's going to take more than the first ride. That was our hypothesis. So we had designed a whole experience around reassurance, over communicating what the car was doing, so that you knew, you know, big screens that showed you what path it was going to take and why, assuming that people would be clutched onto their seat, you know, terrified. The truth became that when they started to test autonomous vehicles, first at University of Michigan, on the testing site, was that as soon as the car does a few key things, start and stop smoothly, indicate that it can read the signs accurately, and drive not like a Roomba vacuum cleaner, but smoothly, actually people trust it incredibly fast. Faster than a parent would with a 16-year-old who just passed the license, right? So I would argue that in those instances, we trust AI quicker than we did people. The other thing I think is interesting is ChatGPT just released its use cases. The number one use case this year is psychological support over productivity. So we're clearly trusting it with our lives in a high-risk situation, driving at speed. We're trusting it with deeply personal insights. Where do you think, from a business perspective, that's going? It seems to indicate that if we're willing to give our lives, we're willing to give our personal insights. Does that mean we're also going to be entrusting it to run businesses altogether?
I think people care about results, right?
Yeah.
So it's all going to be about trying new things and being able to monitor results. So if you're a business and you want to acquire customer, improve your brand, you're going to be testing a lot of new things, and you're going to be able to go really deep when it works. So the example of like having an AI on autopilot to contact people on your behalf, if you're a B2B business that relies a lot on relationships and where the quality of the relationship is very important, you're going to have a lot of hesitancy to trust AI to do it. You're going to test it at some point. Probably it's going to bring you some new customers you didn't even thought about, but like where you have really true expertise that is a good fit for them.
Yeah.
And that might be how you explore and trust it more and more for things that really touch something really key for your business. Yeah?
So but
it's a matter of if at the same time you do this and you lose 20 clients because they say, hey, like I'm receiving these garbage emails and I don't want to hear about you anymore, you're going to think about it twice, right? So it's really the matter is like how quickly can you learn what really adds value for you.
But do you think that that's because where the technology is now and the adoption and the risk reward, or is it for the foreseeable future?
I'd say it's going to be a matter of how many tasks and how complex the task you're going to give to AI, right? So maybe sending an email on your behalf is fine. Maybe writing a whole deck and explaining why you're uniquely the best company to solve this issue might be fine as well.
Yeah.
But shipping the whole project, maybe we're not there yet, right? So it's going to be a matter of level of complexity.
Yeah.
And then at the end, like result, like, so is it adding value for you?
Yeah. The way we spoke a little bit about how to manage AI in your ecosystem. So we really use the word manage, as in you have to look for quality, etc. So do you think treating agents sort of like interns that you need to oversee as opposed to another teammate Is that here to stay, or is that on its way out?
It's here to stay. We don't know how to call it yet. It's probably not an intern, not a senior manager, right? So it's something that's going to play a key role in your team that you need to, but it's tech, right? So you need to control it and get the most out of it.
Okay, so something that Mosaia does well is multiple agents. You're creating multiple agents, having them do multiple tasks. So, but the orchestration piece, is that going to come to a place where one agent can orchestrate multiple agents? Is that something that we're going to keep? It's going to happen? Or do you think there will always need to be a human involved in orchestrating agents?
Agents are going to be more, like, it's going to be more and more easy to orchestrate agents together, right? Skip this one. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think you're hearing businesses saying that their prompts are IP? Is prompt IP?
Not yet. Given how fast models change and improve, we still don't really know where IP will be in prompting.
So what about on more in the creative direction style? So using AI generated images, is that here to stay, do you think? Is that something that people are going to become accustomed to see AI generated everywhere, or not? Or do you think it's...
So definitely it's going to grow a lot.
Yeah.
And it's going to mean the search for authenticity will be also higher, right? So we will need first the right system to easily understand if this image is generated by a human or not. And then make sure it's easy for people to consume content that is generated from human, because people will value this for sure.
Okay. Okay. So I forgot actually. I did have an entry to talk to you about this, about open source. We didn't really talk about that. So, open source agent workflows. Is this the future? Is it now? Just because the world we live in. What's your view? Are open source agent workflows a part of the future, or is it just a moment in time now? And
if we mean about for creative agency, for instance, to have open source agent framework
in the any industry who's using agents, should it be open source? Is that the key?
I honestly don't have a strong opinion here.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk about dog fooding test. You remember that one? Yeah. So startups pitching AI tools, there's so many of them, right? But it doesn't cut their own dog fooding tests. Is this just now because there's a lot of cowboys, or you think there'll always be that problem?
I think it's fine for the first few months of the startup, right? The startup selling something really big, trying to attract attention, and then basically ship a basic chatbot to start with. Yeah. As long as you very quickly improve it, understand how to go beyond that, and how also somehow to be more specific and beat ChatGPT a specific task that you really control, that's the way to go.
If you had to give people in the creative industry in particular key tools and applications for the AI, can you give us like a list of what you think your top tools are right now?
Oh, my own tools, I use ChatGPT every day. That's where it starts, right? So it's improving very, very fast. So understanding how quickly it can improve is very useful, not only for yourself, but also when you build something to understand where is the bar and how fast you need to iterate to beat it and add more value to people. So that probably would be the number one. I'm very impressed also when I speak with AI. So it's something I discovered recently. So I spend more and more time now interacting through voice with AI. Not exactly a tool, but like a different way to use it to add value. I did something I also encourage anyone to do, which is very simple, is instead of, if you look at your browser in your search bar, most people use it to Google something. I would suggest to switch it to ChatGPT. So every time you're thinking about asking a question on the internet, go through ChatGPT first instead of going through Google is going to very quickly change a lot of behaviors, the way you search and you consume anything on the web. And you get a lot of value like this, and it's going to help you adopt AI faster as well in your day-to-day.
They used to have, a lot of the LLMs, they couldn't look recently enough at data, right? The data was like 1 year old, and they would. Is that changing?
Yeah, it's not happening anymore. Like, so most of the requests now, the LLM is able to understand if you need fresh content or not, and then search content right away, fresh content if it's needed. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why it's becoming more relevant for shopping, for instance, right? So every time you want to buy something, try first to see what type of result ChatGPT recommends. That's always interesting to see how different it is from a typical search.
What is the biggest mind shift that you think creative leaders need to make over the next 3 years?
I would say focus even more on the people side of it, right? So if you think about adopting AI, the issue is not technology. The issue is where to apply it on the business, who within the business is doing this work, and where do they believe AI is going to help them. And so anyone who has to deal with a lot of change, like anyone who wants to help a team adopt AI faster, need to focus on the people side of it.
How do you encourage leaders to implement and build an AI strategy without losing, I think a lot of people feel like their sort of their humanity and their soul as leaders?
So first on how to do it.
Yeah.
One mistake I see across many industry is to think that you're going to solve the problem by having a head of AI within your organization. That doesn't work. Like the people who need to lead the AI strategy should be at exact level. Each head of business unit should be in charge of it. Right? So that's a common mistake people are doing, and so it's very important to do it. About the second part of the question, which is more about like how you make sure you don't lose yourself out of it, as well, again, focus on the people next to you, right? So what does it mean for them to adopt AI? How can it help them grow as well, as a leader, as a person? And so try to think about what's in it for your team, and how you win the race by having a team empowered by AI and able to do more.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. That was a very illuminating conversation.
It was a really great discussion on the 4th of July with you.
Pleasure. And then for people who are interested, your business is called Mosaia, and if you want to connect with him, I'll put the URL in the messaging.
Wonderful. We are we are available for any help with onboarding, so don't hesitate to reach out.
Fantastic. Cool. Merci.
Thank you, Yann.
Ciao.